Welcome to today's webinar. That is will be on Playwright in action, the modern standard for E2E testing. So today Arya will be focusing on mastering modern web testing with live demos, best practices, and advanced automation strategies. To just briefly introduce Arya joined us here. Here is Aryakrishna. She's a senior QA automation engineer here at Edstem. She has over 5 years of experience and has grown from QA engineer to her current senior role, building strong expertise in test automation, QA frameworks, and continuous improvement practices. So let's welcome Aryakrishna to lead us into this session. Arya, you can take over.
Yeah, thank you, Sharad. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Thank you first of all, thank you for joining today's webinar. As some of you here might already know me, but those who are meeting me for the first time, I work as an automation tester, and over the years, I have had the opportunity to work with a variety of testing tools, frameworks, and technologies, from Selenium to API testing framework, and more recently, the modern automation tools like Playwright. So today, I'm going to talk about Playwright, a modern, fast, and reliable web automation framework that's gaining a lot of traction among both developers and testers. So before we jump into Playwright, I just want to take a step back and talk about automation in general and why it's such a big deal today. Just think about how software used to be released 10 to 15 years ago. Teams would work for months, sometimes years, before pushing out a new version. So at that time, testing was mostly manual. People will click buttons, checking the forms, making notes. And of course, that worked, but it was slow, error prone, and honestly a bit exhausting. So fast forward to today, businesses start releasing new features weekly, sometimes even multiple times a day. So users expect instant updates and zero downtime. So in this environment, manual testing alone just can't keep up. So that's where automation comes in. Automation is nothing like having a tireless teammate who never gets bored, never makes mistakes from fatigue, and can work 24/7. It can run thousands of tests in minutes across different browsers, devices, and environments, all while you are sleeping. And what's the best part? It can free up the human brains for what they are best at. That's creativity, problem solving, and critical thinking. So as we can see now, our testers, instead of spending hours rechecking the same login form again and again, testers can focus on finding the edge cases, improving the test coverage, and making the product better. So in short, automation is not just about speed. It's about reliability, scalability, and delivering quality at the pace the world demands today. And that's why tools like Playwright are becoming so important in our industry. Today, I'm really excited to share what I have learned about Playwright, and hopefully by the end of the session, you will see why it's worth adding to your toolkit, whether if you are a tester or a developer. Yeah, that was a quick introduction about Playwright. Now let's start. I will share my screen. Let me know if it's visible. Hope my screen is visible.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So here is what I have created for today's presentation. And our topic is Playwright in Action, the modern standard for end-to-end testing. So let me go to the agenda for today. We will start with the basics of what Playwright is, why it is so relevant now. I will cover its core features and then I will walk you through a core demo. After that, we will look at some of the advanced capabilities, CI/CD integration, and some best practices. Finally, we will wrap up with questions. Okay, regarding the Q&A session, I just don't want you guys to wait till the end of the session. If you have any queries, you can ask me in between. Just raise your hand and I'll be happy to answer that. Okay, now let's move on to the first slide. So the first major question, what actually is Playwright? Playwright is nothing but an open source automation framework that's created by Microsoft. Um, Playwright supports all major browsers like, sorry, just a second, guys. Hope my audio is still clear, right? Sharad?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I just don't know, something happened in between.
Yeah, no worries. You can just make it just continue as where you left off. That's fine.
I'm just trying to maximize it, but it's still loading the presentation. Okay. Okay, I think I can continue. Let it load. Yeah. So, what actually is Playwright? Playwright is nothing but an open source automation framework that's created by Microsoft. So one of the major features of Playwright is that it supports all major browsers like Chromium, Firefox, WebKit, and it will also help you write the test in JavaScript, TypeScript, Python, Java, and even .NET. And the one major advantage of Playwright is that it's not just limited to UI testing. You can also test API, making it a one-stop solution for your end-to-end automation. So this is just a brief description about what Playwright is, what are the advantages of Playwright, or what are the things that it supports. So hope you get a brief idea of what is Playwright, what languages it support, and what browsers it support, and what is it useful for. I'm moving to the next slide. Yeah. So the next question which arises is why Playwright matters, why it is so important today. So here are some features of Playwright. Let me start with the first one, which is fast execution with a modern async API. So what is that? Like Playwright actually uses an asynchronous API, which means it can handle multiple actions in parallel where possible without actually blocking. For example, you might have heard about automation tools like Selenium, Cypress, etc. So in Selenium, what you need to do is first you might click a button, then wait for the next page to load, and then search for an element. So all of these actions actually you are doing sequentially in Selenium. But in Playwright, with the async model and smart handling means it can start looking for the next element as soon as it's available without necessary idle time. So that is what is meant by the fast execution with modern async API. Then moving on to the next feature, which is built-in auto waits for stable test. One of the biggest problem in UI automation is actually the flaky test. What is flaky test? That means the test can sometimes pass, it can sometimes fail, depending on the time. So with Playwright, it automatically wait for the element to be ready before performing any action. That is, it wait for the element to be present in the DOM, element to be visible, element to be enabled for interaction. So with these features, it actually reduces the time that is needed for the manual wait code, making the test more clear and more stable. Now moving on to the third feature, which is a rich trace and debug tools. Actually, this is one of the most advanced feature of Playwright. Why? Because Playwright actually include a trace viewer, which can record the test execution, and it will help you replay it step by step to see actually what happened. So you can run the test in a headed mode. Headed mode means with a browser UI visible, and you can even post the execution to inspect the page state interactivity. So it helps to debug and see what actually failed or what is blocking the test from running. So this is such a nice feature of Playwright. Then the last one, ideal for CI/CD pipelines. This is like Playwright can be integrated with GitHub Actions, Jenkins, Azure DevOps, and other CI/CD tools, which is just straightforward, making it perfect for the modern DevOps pipeline. So these are some of the important features of Playwright. I'm saying like Playwright is not just limited to these features. Playwright is vast, and Playwright has other extra really good features. But just for a rough or a short note, I'm just explaining these features. Hope it's clear till now. Do we have any questions in between? I hope that's a no.
Yeah, if you
Okay.
have any questions, you have access to your mics and use it. It's not restricted.
Okay. Do let me know if you have any questions. That's it. Okay. Now let's move on to the code demo. Actually, we have talked about the concepts of Playwright. Now let's make things more interesting by actually seeing it in action. Theory is actually great, but in automation, when it comes to automation, the real magic happens when you watch the code run and interact with a live application. As we have time constraint, what I will do is I will walk you through a code which I have already created from scratch, and then we will start with a simple script to just open a browser, navigate to a website, perform some actions, and verify the result. And I will highlight along the way how Playwright's features like auto waiting, smart locators, and fast execution makes the process just both easier and more reliable compared to the other tools. So for today, um, I have taken a dummy website, web application, which is this one, sourcedemo.com. This is just a dummy application to do your testing. That's it, not a live application at all. So this has a login page, which contain a username field and a password field. So here I have the suggested username and password. I can give this, click on the login button, then I will be landed to this product page. So this is an e-commerce website. Okay, so here once I land onto the dashboard page, I can see a lot of products listed here. I can select any of the products, then click on add to cart. So this will be added to the cart here. Meanwhile, we can sort it in the ascending and descending order, price low to high and all. So like this. And when I click on cart, I can see whatever is there in the cart, like Flipkart, Amazon, the same functionality. That's it. So you can see whatever is there in the cart. We can see the price details and everything. If you want to say remove any of the item, we can remove that. And if you want to add an extra item, what we can do is we can click on continue shopping, just add, select one product, add to cart, then again go here. And once we select all the products, we can click on checkout. And after checkout, you'll be redirected to this page wherein you can fill the first name, last name, zip code. And after filling all the checkout information, you can click on continue, wherein you will be redirected to this page, wherein you can see the checkout overview, what are products you have listed, what's the total price, payment information, shipping information, total price, everything. Once you're okay with this, you can click on finish and you will be redirected to this page, which is a success page. This is thank you for your order, and you can go back to the home page. So this is what I have automated right now. And there's one more functionality which is logout. When I click on the hamburger here, this will get expanded and I can click on logout. So I'll be logouted from the application. So this is what I have automated in my automation suite. I have divided or split this into different test cases instead of writing it in a single stretch. Yeah. Before going to the code demo, I just want to show you what I'm actually going to automate. That's it. Now let's go to the code. First of all, the basic thing that we need to configure is the development environment. For that, we actually need three components. That is Node.js, Visual Studio Code, and Git. For now, I have installed all these three in my system. Say if you are new to the project, you are creating a framework from scratch. Once you navigate to your folder structure, the basic thing that you need to do is execute one command, which is npm init playwright @latest. So this is a very first command which you need to execute. So what this command is actually used for, this is to install the latest version of the Playwright. I have already installed it in my system, so I'm not going to continue with that. I will just explain what will happen after this. So once this command is executed, this will ask you a few questions. The very basic questions. And one among such question is, do you want to use TypeScript or JavaScript? Here I have chosen TypeScript because this is the default language for Playwright documentation. And once we execute this command, what this will do is it will install the browsers, the packages, the node modules, etc. So that's a very basic command that we need to start with to write our test in Playwright. Okay, now let's go through the folder structure. This is my folder with name pw-assessment, just Playwright assessment. So if you see here, the first folder which we have is the node modules. I believe node modules you guys must be aware of because you might be using it in your project. So let me explain again, but yeah, node modules is a place wherein the Node.js application we keep our libraries or our components. So say I have expanded this node modules. Here we can see all the libraries or all our components are listed here. And here we can see there is a Playwright folder here. And this folder, this is a place where the Playwright framework is sitting as a part of our framework. So this node modules have installed this Playwright here, and we can use it in our framework. So moving on to the next folder, which is test. So test is nothing but actually I want to write all my test cases, right? So this is a place where I write all my test scenarios. So test folder is a folder which have all our test files. So if you see here, I guess I have actually added three files, which is authentication.spec.ts, then ecommerce.spec.ts, and product API.spec.ts. So if you see in all these three files, the spec.ts is the naming convention. So spec.ts does not have any functional meaning. It's just the naming convention. So by just looking at the file, you can tell, okay, this is a file that is responsible for my test. That's it. Now, moving on to the next folder, which is test examples. Test examples is nothing, just another folder which we will not use in the test runner. This is just like giving a reference or an add-on, like what more can Playwright do. If we see here, this is a demo to do app spec.ts. This is automatically generated when we install Playwright. Okay, so we can use this as a reference. So instead of going to Google, just browsing each and everything, you can avoid that and you can come here, use it, begin with it, use it how the languages are being picked up, how the code is, what is the structure of the code, everything you can see here. This is nothing, just for your reference, that's it. Then we have git ignore. I believe this is also something you guys must be aware of, that you are using it in your projects, I believe. So gitignore will automatically add the folders that you don't want to commit into your Git repository. So say here, node modules, my test results, the Playwright report, env file. These are the things that I don't want to commit into my Git repository. So I can avoid it using this gitignore. Then what we have is package.json and package.log.json. So package.json is a file that is used to describe our overall project npm scripts and dev dependencies of any of the packages that we want to install in our project. So say if I open this file, I can see the name of the file written here, which is Playwright Assessment, the version, the name, if we have any scripts, keywords, or the license, any description we want to add, that are things we can describe here. And the most important thing in the package.json is the dev dependencies. So whatever dependencies or packages I need to install in my project, that all will be listed here. So here I have used Faker, then Playwright test, node, then .env. So all of these are the dependencies that I have added in my project, and the version will also be listed here. So that's it for package.json. Then moving to package log.json. Again, this is a file that is kind of logging the configuration of your framework, and it can always be safely deleted when you run the. This can also always be safely deleted. Package.json can always be safely deleted, and when you run the npm install, it will regenerate the file again. So sometimes this package.log.json can help to avoid some compatibility issues between the packages and so on. Yeah, that's it all regarding the package.json and package.log.json. And the other important file which we have in Playwright is playwright.config.ts. This is a main configuration file of the Playwright, wherein you can actually tweak some settings of the Playwright. If you open this file, you can see here a lot of stuffs, like some code is commented out, some have notes, options, and what each of these lines mean. Like when we install Playwright, like everything here is default at the beginning. When we create the project, okay, and as per the requirement, we can change the configurations. So I will go through this in detail once I start the execution. Hope this is clear till now, because this is just a folder structure that I want to explain before I go deep into the code. Do you have any questions in between? Hope it's clear. Can I move to the code? Okay, I take it as a yes. Okay. I will start with the test folder, because that's where my test scenarios resides. So as I mentioned, inside the test folder, I have three files: authentication.spec.ts, ecommerce.spec.ts, and product API.spec.ts, because I have divided my test scenarios into three different test files. Due to time constraint, I'll be just going through one scenario in detail, and the other three I'll be just covering it quickly. So I will start with authentication.spec.ts, because that's a core part, that's a login part. Okay. So if I open authentication.spec.ts, the very first thing which you can see here is I have imported a test method from the Playwright library, so that I can use this test method below to write the scenarios. The first scenario that I'm going to check here is the login functionality, which contain other sub-scenarios like login with valid credentials, login with invalid credentials, and logout. You can see here I have three scenarios. And following the best practice, what I have done is I have grouped the different tests inside a test suite using the keyword test.describe. So if you see here, using the test.describe, I have grouped the different test cases. This is one test, this is another test, and this is a third test, so that it will be very easy for me to manage. Um, inside the test.describe, I have given the test description, which is Swag Labs login scenario followed by comma, and I have opened a function here. Then inside that, I have written my test. So this is a first test. Login to Swag Labs with valid credentials. And inside this test, I have passed an argument, which is a page function. So what's that? It's nothing but just a fixture of the Playwright. Playwright have different fixtures actually. We have browser fixture, page fixture, and what is this page fixture? This is nothing but it just represent a pretty much a blank page of the browser. So just think about it. In order, we need to run the test. So in order to run the test, we need to first open a new page of the browser, and then we can do with this page whatever we want. Right? We can open the page, we can navigate to that website, then go to the other pages, and like what are things we can do with this page. That's it. So, as I mentioned, async and await, which are kind of promises. So for us, in order for this code to work, we need promises to wait until it's going to be resolved, and in order to avoid issues and race conditions. So race conditions and all, I believe you might be aware of. I don't want to explain at all. And if you are familiar with JavaScript, I believe those people must be can easily relate, because they will be using this frequently. So for others, I believe it will be something new, but yeah. Okay. Okay. This is what I'm going to explain for now. As I mentioned, we have time constraints, so I'll be just picking one scenario and explaining this in detail, and all the other scenarios I'll be executing it and just going very quickly over that. So first scenario which I have is login to Swag Labs with valid credential. It's nothing but I navigate to the website and then I enter the username and password. I click on login button and I redirect to the dashboard page successfully. That's my first scenario, the very basic scenario which I need to validate. This is the body part from line number 11 to 20 is the body part for my first test. Before going to this body part, I want to show you one more thing, which is nothing, this piece of code, line number 4 to 6. This is nothing but a concept called hook. Say for any of the application, when you try to write the test scenario, for example, the navigation to the website URL, that will be a common part, right? For almost 95% of the test cases, the navigation to the website or the login, which will be the common part, right? So instead of duplicating this in each and every test case, what you can do is for repetitive situations like this, you can use this hook. And one of the hook that I have used here is called before each application. And this hook will be executed before each as it mentions before. So say this is a first test, this is a second test, this is a third test. So this before each of this hook will be
Yeah,
first
sorry to
executed,
interrupt. Your voice is
and
breaking.
this will. Oh, what about now?
Yeah, it's fine now.
Is it clear?
Yeah, it's fine now.
Clear, right? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, what I have explained right now is the concept of hook. So I have three individual test cases here. This is the first test case, this is the second test case, and this is the third test case. Before each and every test case, this hook will be executed so that I can avoid duplicating or repeating this step in each and every test case. So that is what the hook is used for. It's actually very helpful because if you have some common part or common step you want to execute in every test case, instead of writing it again and again, what you can do is you can write it inside a hook and it will be executed before each and every step. Yeah, that's it. Then now moving to the body part. Here in the body part, So just forget about what I have written here just for now. What I have done here is instead of writing each and every line of code inside this test method, I have used a concept called page object model, which is kind of best practice. So what actually is a page object model? It's nothing but a design pattern that is used in the test automation to organize your source code, to improve the maintainability and reusability of the code. The core concept for this model is that for every page of the web application, we create our own classes, and these classes have methods or functions that is responsible for operations on this particular page. So in that way, we logically can structure all our code base into different sections of the test framework, and we can call these methods and functions inside of the test, which are responsible for the particular functionality on the web page. So using this concept, it will be very easy for me to maintain my code, avoid lines and lines of code. So I will go through this page object model in detail. Just ignore this piece of code for now. I am moving to another folder, that is page objects. So here in the root of the folder, I have created a new folder, which is a page object. And inside this folder, I have created 3 files: e-commerce page.ts, login page.ts, and page manager.ts. Say I have 3 test cases here: authentication, e-commerce, and product API. So for authentication, I have created the corresponding page object, which is a login page. For e-commerce, I have created the corresponding page object, which is e-commerce page.ts, and I have one page manager.ts that I will come at the last. So for authentication spec.ts, this is my test case. This is where I have written the test, right? So corresponding to that, I have created a page object, which is login page.ts. If I open that login page.ts, the very first thing which I can see here is I have imported the page function from the Playwright library. Then inside this, I have created a new class, which is login page. So what's happening here? I will explain in detail. So first, I have used an export keyword in order to make this file visible for the other files. Then inside this class, I have created a constructor, and the constructor will wait a parameter of the page fixture that will be passed from the test inside of the login page in order to make sure that we are using the same instance of the page during the test run. Then we assign this instance of the page fixture into the local field related to the login page right here. And after that, we use the instance of this page fixture inside of this method related to the navigation of the page. So here, this is a first method which I have created, which is async submit form with credentials, and inside that I have passed 2 parameters. Here I have used the concept of parameterization so that I can differentiate the scenarios that I can execute in my test. So with the concept of parameterization, I can use the same method inside of the different test just by providing a different argument in the method. So say if I write the test method in such a way that if I want to test with a different username and password combination, I can just call this method, right? So by passing the username and password in this method, I can write any number of login scenarios with any different combinations that I want. That's the reason why I have created the test method in such a way. Then after that, I used a keyword this in order to read the fixture instance. In order to read this fixture instance, I have used the keyword this. So here inside this method is where I have actually written my the exact automation code. You know, what I'm doing here is that here in the first line, I'm taking the locator of this login form. This login form, I'm taking the locator of this login form inside this first step, and I'm storing it in a constant variable. Okay. And next, after that, by calling this constant, I am actually moving to the first field, which is a username field. I'm picking the locator of this username field, and I'm passing the username here. Then below that, I am taking the locator of this password field and I'm filling it with the password. After that, what I'm doing is I am taking the locator of this login button and performing an action called click. So this is the first basic thing which I need to do, right? As I mentioned, I want to validate the successful login. So I pick the locator of the username, then password field, and then I click the login button. Yeah, success. That's the first thing. That's a very basic thing that I need to do. So I have written the code inside this method. So now that's fine. Now what I have done is I need to connect this with the test file, right? So for that, I created one more page, which is a page manager.ts. And this file will actually be responsible for building all the instances of the pages in a single place. So if I open this page manager.ts, what I can see is in the very first beginning, I have imported the page from the Playwright test library. Then I have imported the login page, this login page from the page objects login page. I have, as I mentioned, I have written a few more scenarios, which is the e-commerce page. That's why I have imported that as well. Then what's happening here? Here inside this class page manager, I have initialized a constructor that will create an instance of all these pages, e-commerce page, login page, etc. Then we will assign these instances to these fields and we will create individual methods that will return this instance to you. Say this is a method, navigate to login page. This will return me the instance of the login page. So now that's also all set, right? Now we have login page.ts, page manager.ts, and we have created a method that will return the instance of this login page. Now we will go back to the very initial page, that is our test page. So now what we can do is we can create an instance of the page manager here so that we can interact with the other page object. So here I have created a instance of the page manager. From page manager, what I do is I first navigate to this navigate to login page. I call this method here, which will return me an instance of this login page, right? So it will go to the login page and it will call this method submit form with credentials. And we can pass the username here and password here. See, this is super easy, right? Because instead of writing the piece and every pieces of code here, I am just writing a single line here, which will handle everything. So someone who is looking at this can easily understand what it is doing here. From the page manager, it is navigating to the login page. Then in the login page, it is calling this method submit form with credentials, and we are passing the username and password here. Like what an easy method it is, right? So this is what is the concept of the page object model. It's very useful and very convenient technique to use. And after that, I have given an assertion. Assertion is nothing but just a validation to check whether the expected result and actual result is the same. And as a part of the best practice, I have used the try-catch concept because in case of any failure, I can see the error message and screenshot. So this is what I'm doing inside my test. Login to Swag Labs with valid credentials. Similarly, for the other scenarios as well, I am also doing the same thing. Like, see, I don't want to duplicate the code here, right? This is with invalid credential, which means I need to pass some incorrect username and password. So in order to reduplicate the code, I can just copy the same logic here and then pass an invalid username and invalid password. Very easy, very super quick, very easy. We can manage it very conveniently. Yeah, that's it. That's it. My test is similarly, I have written many other test scenarios, but I'm not going deep into that. I believe till this it's clear. Do you have any queries? I hope it's clear. Taking it as a no. Okay. So the next thing is we want to execute it, right? But before executing this, I just want to show you one more thing, which is a configuration file. As I mentioned in the beginning, the main important part of Playwright is a configuration file. Okay, let me drag this down. Yeah. I will explain the structure of this file first. Generally, we can slice this file into two sections. So the first section is a global section, and then this is the project section. So each of the section has different properties that can be configured. I'm not going through each and every configuration. I will cover the most important ones for now. So first, we have the test directory, which is /test. This is the path of the test directory. And second parameter which we have is fully parallel, which can be set to either true or false. What is fully parallel means? It's nothing but if you want to run the test in parallel within a single step file. If you want to run this in parallel, it will be true. We can set this to true. If I want to run it without, if I don't want to run the test in parallel, I can set this to false. Then next important property is workers, the concept of workers. So worker is nothing but a new instance of the web browser. And by default, Playwright will create a worker for each spec file. For each of the spec file, Playwright will create a worker and execute them in parallel. For example, currently we have 3 spec files in our project, right? And if I run this test right now, Playwright will create 3 workers and will execute 3 parallel threads or 3 web browsers in parallel. So right now it is configured in such a way that if you want to run this in CI, continuous integration, we can use just one worker. If not, if we are running it locally, it's just undefined. I can change this configuration. I can give it to maybe 1 or 2 or whatever be the value as I like. This is the default value, but I haven't changed it right now. That's it. So Playwright will decide, in this case, Playwright will decide by himself how many workers to trigger. And technically, it will run one new worker per spec file. That's it. Now we have retries. Retries, as you mentioned, like as it mentioned, like it's just nothing but just the retry mechanism. It means that when we run the test and if the test fails and if we want to retry it, we can use this. Right now, it is configured in such a way that if it is continuous integration, the retry count will be 1. Otherwise, it will be 0 entry. That's it. It's a default configuration. Then next we have a reporter. Reporter is also like when after executing the test, if I want to see the report of my test execution, I want to proofread what is the report of my test execution, I can use this reporter. The Playwright has several built-in reporters that you can choose, like HTML reporter, JSON reporter, JUnit reporter, and there are a few others. So here by default, we have HTML reporter. Yeah. We can change the reporter according to our wish. If you want a JSON reporter, we can configure it as JSON reporter. That's it. Then next is trace. So this is also another important. As I mentioned, this is another important feature which I like the most in Playwright. Trace is something which is a series of snapshot of the test run, which will be very useful for debugging the test. So right now, trace is given as on first try. This is a default configuration that is given by Playwright. That means when the test fails and on the first retry, that's it. And we have one more option which is like video on. So what Playwright will do is Playwright video will be automatically recorded as we gave the video option as on. If we give the video option as on, Playwright will automatically record the video of the execution. Then that's it in the global section. Now moving on to the project section. So by default, Playwright will run all the tests in 3 different browsers, which is also a super cool feature because instead of testing it in a single browser, you can test it in 3 browsers, which is the default configuration that is provided by Playwright. All the browsers are defined here. Here we have Chromium, Firefox, WebKit. So this is the default browsers with which the Playwright test will be executed. In all the three browsers, the test will be executed in parallel. Okay, so we can validate our application in all these three different browsers. Cool. So that's it regarding my test project structure and the configuration. Now let's run this test because that's where I want to see what is happening, right? To run the test, this is the command we should use: npx playwright test. I just place the command here, I run it. Let me expand this. Yeah, see here, it says like running 18 tests with 2 workers. So what is this 18 test? I have only three test cases, three test file, right? And inside this 3 test file, I have in the first test file I have 3 scenarios. In the second test file, I have only 1 scenario, and in the third file, I have 2 scenarios. So total 6 scenarios. But why it is mentioning running 18 tests using 2 workers? As I mentioned before, in the playwright config.ts file, we have configured 3 browsers. And I mentioned these 3 browsers will be executed in parallel. So 6 test keys into 3, which means total 18 test cases, right? That's why it's mentioned like running 18 tests using 2 workers. This 2 workers is something which Playwright configured by itself, because we have given it as undefined, right? And Playwright automatically take it as 2 workers. That's it. So my test is getting executed here. I believe this will take some time. So instead of waiting till that, what I can do is I can show the result of execution which I have done previously. So this is the test. All the 18 has been passed, and it has mentioned the time taken. Everything is given here. All the console outputs and everything is mentioned here. What are the files and every details are given here. So instead of looking from here, what I can do is I can go through the report. At the end of the execution, it says like to open the last HTML report, you can select this, you can run this command. So okay. I need to wait till the end of this execution to see the report actually. Okay, yeah. In order to see the report, I can click on this one. Yeah, so this is a report of the Playwright. If you see here, in this report, I can any of the test cases here. If I search something like login, I can see the scenarios corresponding to login. Then it will give all the details, how many total tests are there, how many of them skipped, then what is the date of the execution, time taken for the execution. All those details are given here. Then what is a file, a test file, and inside this test file, how many test cases are there, how many test cases are there. And see here, each of these test cases will be executed 3 times, because as I mentioned, each of these test cases will be executed in 3 different browsers. So say login to Swag Labs with valid credentials is executed in WebKit, then Chromium and Firefox. With all the 3 browsers, it got executed, and the time taken for execution is also mentioned here. And the fine part is that if I go here, if I click here, I can see the complete details of the execution. Say this is my scenario, this is my time taken, which is the browser, and what is the result. Like if there is an error, it will mention in which step the error has occurred, what is actually the issue. Then step by step, everything step by step, we can see here the time taken for each step. Then after that, we can see the video of the execution, why it failed. So if I open this video, you can see here what is actually happening. I'm sorry. Something happened to the execution in between. Maybe let me take a good one. This one I can take. This is actually correct. Yeah, see here, it's giving the username, password, and I have given here an invalid username and password, so it does not permit me to go to the products page, which is a dashboard page. Here itself, the execution has been stopped and it displayed a error message like you can't, this username and password combination does not match. Yeah, that's it. It's very convenient, right? Yeah. So that's it regarding the report. And yeah, one more thing, which is, as I mentioned, Playwright is not just limited to UI testing. It's another important feature is that we can test the API with Playwright. So we can I will demonstrate how we can intercept an API, validate an API call during the automation. Say I have taken one application, which is this dummyjson.com. Here, what I have done is I have validated this API, get API response, the 200 response with Playwright. So inside this test, I have given the description, get product API.test, and said that I have passed the page fixture. And coming here, this is where my API validation is, what it is doing here. With this page.route function, this will catch the network request to this application, which is dummyjson.com. And instead of blocking this request, route.fetch, this route.fetch will forward the request to the server and it will capture the response. So we get the response here, right? And we can parse this response using the get response.json, and we can store it here inside the response body. Okay, I will just go through this in detail one more time. Like this is nothing but in order to validate the API, this is what I have written here using page.route. I can catch the network request to this dummy.json application, and using this route.fetch method, I can forward the request to the server and I can capture the response. So in order to parse this response, I can use this get response.json method and store the response in the response body. And finally, we can verify the API call is successful. Then I have given an assertion to check whether the status is equal to 200. That's what I have done here. Similarly, in order to validate the post API calls, I have written a test here, which I'm not going in detail because if I go in detail, it will consume long time as we are running short of time. Yeah. Okay, this also I have executed. If we go to the report, we can see here, previous or here if we see, this is a get product API test. Here, if you see, I can show you the execution result. This is what. It go to that page, it took the response of that page. That's it. Yeah, so this is what I want to explain from the code side, like what is actually happening in Playwright, how the code is written, what is a report, what is a debug mechanism. That's it. Now, as I mentioned, there's another important feature of Playwright, which is the CI integration. So I will cover that as well. Okay. We can go through, now we can go through how to run our Playwright test inside a continuous integration pipeline. As a prerequisite, what you need to do is you need to upload your project to your own GitHub repository. The next step, what you need to do is to configure your project so that the test run automatically in the GitHub Actions. Okay, in the GitHub Actions, in order to run the test automatically, you need to configure it accordingly. Then, so when you do in such a way that the test will run automatically in the GitHub action whenever you push in new code. Then GitHub Actions will provide a native way to set up the CI workflows. Here is what it will do. So here, in the root of the project, first we need to create a folder called GitHub workflows. Okay, I haven't done that right now, but I'm just explaining it what you need to do. If you see the documentation, this is official documentation of the Playwright. So it's mentioned here. First, you need to create a folder, which is GitHub. Inside the GitHub, you have to create the folder workflows. Then inside this folder, you need to create a playwright.yaml file. Then after that, you need to give this recommendation inside this YAML file. So this is a recommended configuration from the documentation, from the official documentation of the Playwright. So what this YAML file defines is like how our test should run. For example, it first specifies the branch, which branches to monitor. Here it's main and master. Then to install the node.js, then install npm dependencies, then install Playwright browsers, then run the Playwright test. Here it says like run Playwright test, then upload the HTML report to the GitHub UI. So all these things are mentioned here. Now, once we configure the Playwright YAML file and once the changes are committed and pushed to the master branch, then this GitHub actions will automatically dictate the new configuration file and will trigger a workflow run. So if we navigate to the actions tab in GitHub, we can see the pipeline execution. So it will begin by setting up a job, then it installs the required dependencies and browsers, then it will run the test, then it performs a teardown. So after a short wait, this workflow will get completed successfully, and you can see the test have passed or failed. So here, if you see in the documentation, they have given the screenshots. Okay, whether the test has passed. Here it failed, and that's why the retail log is given here. And an additional benefit here is that the GitHub automatically attaches the Playwright HTML report as an artifact. So here, if you see in the artifacts, you can see the Playwright report. This means if the test ever failed, we can download and review the report for detailed debugging insight. Yeah, that's all about CI integration. Yeah, and additionally, I have created a README folder here. This is just for a quick reference guide for anyone who is new to the project, or even for myself. When like I can avoid memorizing, when I want to avoid memorizing the long commands, I can write all the commands here. There are a lot of commands. Okay, you can configure your automation in any of the way. You can run with the headed mode, with like you can select a single file and execute that. Like a lot of configurations are given here. We can run in a single browser. That's it. I have listed all these configurations here. Yeah, so that's it, guys. As we reach to the end of the session. Okay. Yeah. So as we come to the end of this session today, I encourage all of you, whether if you are a developer looking to add quick test into your workflow, or you're a tester who is aiming to strengthen your automation suite, I encourage you all to explore Playwright further, experiment with its features, and start integrating it into your project. The more you work with it, the more you will appreciate its simplicity and power. So thank you all for your time and participation today. I hope this session has given you both insights and inspiration to keep your automation practices to the next level. Let's keep learning, keep experimenting, and most importantly, keep building quality software together. Thank you.
Thank you, Arya,
Mm-hmm.
for such a wonderful session. Thank you all for participating and listening attentively to this. If you have any questions or anything that you want to ask Arya, you can go ahead and use the Q&A section, or you can even voice out it yourselves as well. So if you have, please do.
It looks like there are no questions, but yeah, thank you, Arya. Like we got a fair idea about how Playwright works. So yeah, thanks.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay then. Thank you all. Let's wind up the session now. Thank you. Thank you for your participation.
Thanks all.